Hello, everybody. My name is Harris, and I'm going to talk about why I'm bald. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Harry Not So Harry podcast. I first want to start out by talking a little bit about the name Harry Not So Harry. So, to start out, my name is Harris, and a couple of my friends and family call me Harry from time to time. And as you can see, I am not so hairy because I have alopecia. So let's talk a little bit about what alopecia is for those that don't know. Alopecia is an autoimmune disease that attacks hair follicles and causes hair loss. So there's many different types of alopecia, and the type that I have currently is alopecia universalis. And today I want to talk a little bit about my alopecia story. So for me, alopecia started when I was 11 years old going into 6th grade. I first noticed a very, very small bald patch in the back of my scalp, but honestly didn't think anything of it. As a 6th grader, you're more worried about playing with your friends and family and just having fun. I really wasn't concerned with anything else really going on with me. So a small little bald patch about the size of a dime didn't really bother me at all. The same way that most people find out they have alopecia is the same way I found out. I was at the hairdresser, and as she was doing my hair, she noticed the bald patch in the back. So she called my mom over and asked my mom if she had seen it, and my mom was like, no. And of course, I knew this was there, but I wasn't worried about it. My mom, being the mother that she is, freaked out, and we immediately started making doctor's appointments. And the first doctor that we went to told us that I had lupus, which was really strange because I wasn't sick in any other ways, and we just knew that that didn't really sound right. So we saw another doctor that specialized in hair loss, and they diagnosed me with alopecia when you just have small patches of hair loss. So I still had pretty mostly full head of hair, but we started to notice that I did start to get smaller patches throughout my scalp. And at this point, neither of us had never even heard of alopecia, so we honestly didn't know what to think, what to do. Um, but I did start to notice that my hair really was starting to come out very quickly at this point. When I would shower and when I would wash my hair and I would run my fingers through my hair, it would come out in clumps very, very quickly. And it seemed like it was falling way faster than it was growing. So I did start to get a little bit concerned. And because it started falling out so quickly and it was getting harder and harder for me to hide it, my mom got me a weave. So I got a weave so it would cover all the bald spots that I was starting to have. And I loved it. It was really easy to take care of. I didn't have to worry about my hair falling out so quickly. So I loved the few weeks that I had the weave. But as you can imagine, with the sew and weave, you have to have hair so that they're able to weave the tracks into. And my hair was falling out very quickly. So one day during the summer, I just remember sitting up out of my bed and I felt a breeze on my head. And I turned around and the weave was still on the pillow. And it was honestly such a whirlwind of emotions that I went through. I didn't know exactly what to think or feel in the moment because it honestly didn't feel real. And I was very scared to look in the mirror. And I was just very scared of what my next steps would be. But luckily for me, I have a mom who is just always prepared. So I think that she saw this coming. So she already had some wigs, a couple for me to choose from, waiting on me. So I started to experiment with the wigs a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, I love girly things. But makeup and hair is just not something that I was just like good at straight out of the gate. So I had to practice a lot with how I would do my wigs because it wasn't something that I was like super interested in, but I felt like something that I had to do. So I started buying wigs that I liked and started experimenting and tried my best to make it look like I wasn't actually wearing a wig because at this point, I still really was trying to hide it. I wasn't super comfortable telling even like majority of my family members or even my close friends that I had alopecia because I was still navigating it and still didn't know how I wanted to deal with it. And while I was still experimenting with these wigs, I started going to a dermatologist who started telling me more about alopecia and more of the treatments that may or may not help alopecia. So, for those that don't know, alopecia does not have a cure. So, there are different things that you can do to try and help the hair grow back and try and stimulate hair growth, but nothing for sure works for every single person. My dermatologist started telling me that injections work a lot for people. I would just get injected in my scalp every time I go to the dermatologist, and he said that that would help stimulate my hair growth. So I was like, you know what? Might as well try it. We'll see how I like it. They said that they could put numbing cream on for me so it wouldn't be too bad. And I started that treatment. It was awful. As you can imagine, getting little tiny needles all over your head is a lot for any sixth, or I might have been in seventh grade at this point, seventh grader to handle. And I tried my best with it. I think that I was definitely a trooper with it. It did hurt a lot, but I was at a point where I was willing to try anything to get my hair to grow back. So I didn't really care how bad it hurt. And I'm glad that I stuck with it because it worked for me. And my hair grew back fully. I had really short, curly hair, and I absolutely loved my hairstyle. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that my hair grew back from this treatment. And I stopped the injections since I had my full head of hair back. After I stopped the treatment of getting the injections, about a year later, my hair started to fall out again. I remember the first thing that happened was that the texture of my hair changed. So it wasn't as like soft and pillowy as it was. It was more gritty feeling. And that's when I was like, oh no, something's wrong. So again, when I would take showers, my hair would fall out in clumps when I would wash it. And I was like, oh no, we're going through this again. But this time it kind of happened a little worse because my eyebrows and eyelashes, as well as any other hair that I had on my body, started to fall out too. This time around, I knew what to do, at least with my head, and I started wearing the wigs again. And I really started to experiment a little bit more with the wigs. And I would buy different styles because I kind of liked the idea of getting to change up how I looked every day. So I would buy wigs like this one or this, headband wigs for the gym or sports, or sometimes even braids. And I felt very grateful that I was able to easily change up my hairstyle all the time, but I did not know what to do about my eyebrows or eyelashes. And one day, while I was at the makeup store MAC with my mom, one of the workers taught me how to draw on my eyebrows with makeup, and so that's what I always did. But that never seemed like enough. So this time, when I would go to my dermatology appointment and get the treatment again, the injections, I would get them this time in my eyebrows as well. And just as you can imagine, it was just as awful as getting it in my head, if not worse. But it did work. My hair all grew back again. And I was so happy. Unfortunately, the same cycle happened. And once I stopped doing the treatments, my hair fell out a third time. And I knew that this time I really didn't want to try the treatments anymore because although I knew that they worked for me, each time I would stop because my hair would grow back and it would fall out again, it would just be another traumatic experience. And I did not feel like going through that. I felt like, if I have to wear wigs for the rest of my life, that's fine. Like, I'll just deal with the wigs. I'm okay. I don't need my hair back. So I kind of came to terms with what I thought would be that I would just have to wear wigs for the rest of my life. But I never let it stop me from doing anything that I loved. I played thousands of different sports, soccer, I was on the swim team, golf, but I never let the wigs get in the way of that. But I still was never super open with having alopecia, and I still tried to make my wigs look as realistic as possible. Fast forward to today, I embrace my alopecia. I love talking about it. I'm also a support group leader for an alopecia group here in Atlanta. I just attended my first ever National Alopecia Areata Foundation conference. I'm planning on going to BaldyCon here in Atlanta in September, and I've just really grown to love my alopecia. My goal in talking about alopecia is always to educate, inspire, and just foster a sense of community among those that are affected by alopecia, while also promoting self confidence, acceptance, and empowerment. I'm very excited for episodes to come, and I can't wait to just talk about all things alopecia and life with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to answer them. Bye.